at hand, where we get to look at issues, economic, political, of course, educational, inspirational, but also not forgetting current affairs and everything that is happening in and around our community. My name is Carol Tumwine. You are welcome to today's show. Before I get started, I would like to remind you that Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe is the place to be in case you are seeking for comfort and luxury at its best. They do have a number of services, including swimming, events hosting, where they host different parties, including weddings, engagement parties, birthdays, and all the parties you can think about, including also some of you who want to have meetings. They have space for you to do your meetings there. They have accommodation and, of course, a fully fledged health club, including a gym, a spa, and everything nice. It is Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. They are located in the heart of Entebbe, and you can call the numbers on your screen for reservations with them. However, today I start off with our topic today. We are discussing children, since it is the Children's Focus Month that the Archbishop launched earlier this month. We are looking at everything children. What do they like to do? What are their likes and dislikes? How should we handle the children in case we are blessed with them? And what should we not do? Today's society is falling apart because of a very disturbing factor, and this is the parent-child relationship is very it's falling apart, and it is losing its value basically. And we are wondering as stakeholders, what can we do to help the situation? And one of the things we are doing as media is bringing you lovely guests to talk about these topics. However, today we are going to focus on fostering and child adoption. Of course, in there comes a lot of things that we are going to be looking at with my guests in studio. The first one on my far left is Patrick Byekwaso. He is the Children and Families Manager at Crane International. He'll be telling us more about that. But also in the middle, we have a beautiful lady. Her name is Barbrah Mutagubwa. I hope I said all the names correctly. You're very welcome to studio, guys.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, let me allow you to say some, hellos to the viewers, and then we start. Let's start with Patrick.
Yes, good morning, viewers. It's a joy to be here with you once again. My name is Patrick Byekwaso, and I'm working with Children at Risk Action Network, which we call Crane Network. I work there as the Children and Families Manager.
Okay.
We have three main focus areas: children in education, children in safe spaces, and children in families. And our desire is to bring together different stakeholders who are to collaboratively support children to keep safe.
Interesting. And Miss Barbrah from Sanyi Babies Home, briefly say hi to the viewers and tell us a little bit about Sanyi Babies Home.
Hello viewers, my name is Barbrah Mutagubwa, the Executive Director of Sanyi Babies Home. And at Sanyi Babies Home, we take care of the abandoned babies and children deprived of parental love. Sanyi is the oldest babies home in Uganda. It was established way back in 1929 by missionary sister Winfred Walker, who was working in Mengo Hospital by then as a midwife. And as she was helping ladies to deliver, she realized the increasing number of abandoned babies. Some ladies would deliver and, just walk out of hospital and leave the children in the labor ward, while others would come into the hospital compound and abandon children there. So she started keeping them in her home and giving them much needed care and protection until the number became huge, that it was evident she couldn't handle them by herself.
Wow. So
that is how Sanyi Babies Home was established 94 years down the road. The home is located in Mengo on Namirambe Hill, and we take care of babies from birth up to 4 years old. And many of these babies are usually found abandoned in places like garbage heaps. A mother delivers a baby, places it in a plastic bag and dumps it on a garbage heap. Some mothers throw the babies in pit latrines. The babies are rescued from the bottoms of pit latrines, and by the time they come into our care, they're still drenched in waste and full of maggots. Sometimes the maggots have literally bitten them and they have fresh wounds from the bites of the maggots. Other babies are left in bushes and actually rescued by dogs. You can imagine a human being delivering a baby and leaves the baby in a bush, but God uses a dog to rescue the baby. But just like you can imagine, a dog will use its teeth as they're trying to pull the baby out of the bush onto the roadside for people to see. And sometimes there are sad stories where actually the dogs literally bite the babies and bite off their umbilical cord, private parts, the legs. Some children are physically abused in the community, and then when they can't die, they abandon them. Some come with severe malnutrition, others come with scars all over their bodies, and some have broken limbs, and then others come with health conditions like HIV/AIDS, sickle cell, cerebral palsy, meningitis, hydrocephalus, Down syndrome. So we get children from all backgrounds, and they've already gone through so much in the past few days or weeks or months of their life, and each one of them has a story, a sad story. Yeah. But the good news is that each of these children has his story.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very interesting background. I've picked out a few of the things you've mentioned, but maybe let's start with the fact that, first of all, I believe the number of children is many that you take care of. And you mentioned that you take care of children from
birth to 4 years old. Yes.
And I'm wondering, or a viewer out there could be wondering, after 4 years, when the child gets to 5, then what?
Sanyi Babies Home is one of the estimates actually suggest that there are over 800 children's homes in Uganda, with over 50,000 children living in them. So Sanyi Babies Home is just one of the 800 homes. And when children come into our care, at Sanyi we believe that children belong in families. Actually, our mission is to provide Christ-like love to babies and children deprived of parental love, and reintegrating them into community through reuniting them with their living family members. That is our number one priority. If that is not possible, then fostering and adoption. So Sanyi is a transit home. Many children come into Sanyi throughout there. There are lots of children that have come into Sanyi, but also many children that have exited. We don't want to see children living at Sanyi forever. We actually want to see them stay with us for the shortest period possible. Yes.
Okay, very interesting. Now, Patrick, you mentioned about 3 things that your mission is at Crane, and one of the things was children in safe spaces. Could you shed more light on that? What does it mean?
So children in safe spaces basically means that we are trying to ensure that every space in which a child lives in is safe against harm and violence. So you're thinking through how do the adults protect the children rather than cause harm to them, and how does the whole society come together. The most common places where we find children are in the home, and in the home where there is a family. Then you're thinking of the school, you're thinking of church, you're thinking even the community in general. How do we make our communities much safer for our children to be able to grow up and thrive? So that's what the children in safe spaces aspect of our work looks at. Okay,
and what about the other 2? What is your main focus, or maybe could I call it your mandate as Crane?
So if you ask our mandate as Crane, I'll share our vision. Our vision is to see that children are safe, they are well, and they're thriving in God's plan as they fulfill their God-given potential. And we do that through mobilizing different organizations, schools and churches. At the moment we have over 150 that are part of the network. Sanyi Babies Home is one of those that are part of Crane Network. And when we talk of say children in education, the idea is to support children have meaningful education. And our focus for the past about 13 years has been to ensure that we support girls that have dropped out of school to go back to school through offering them creative catch-up learning, but also thinking through how we can teach children in a much better way and empower parents to support their children in school. When we talk of children in families, it's the aspect that we share a lot with Sanyi Babies Home and other similar organizations, but also the church. And we're asking ourselves, how do we support children to grow up in families? When we think about God's original plan, His plan was that all children belong to families. They are raised up by a father and a mother. And we are saying that where that's not possible, there should be a responsible adult that takes care of them. So we bring together these different stakeholders and we try to create links between, say, Sanyi Babies Home and churches that are out there. And we are saying that how do we find the families that Sanyi is that these children are supposed to go to
and belong. Okay, very interesting. Now let's get into the adoption discussion, and I'll start with Miss Barbrah. First of all, what is adoption? Number one. And two, what is foster care? And what is the difference?
Okay. The Children's Act, amended in 2016, provides for fostering and adoption, and fostering and adoption go together, but they're actually two different things.
Okay.
And fostering is a legal process through which a person other than the biological parent may obtain custody of a child. And through this process, a child is placed with you to enable you to undertake care and maintenance of that child. Then you're regarded as a foster parent.
Okay.
While adoption is the legal act of permanently placing a child with you other than the child's birth parent or biological or natural parents. And an adoption order has the effect of serving the parental responsibility and rights of birth parents.
Okay.
In other words, once you become an adoptive parent and you have the adoption order, the order confers to you 100% parental rights over this child, just like your biological child. For example, if my firstborn is Christian Chiwanuka and Mutugubwa being a family name, and then I bring in a second-born adopted child as Moses, then there is no reason as to why I wouldn't give Moses the Mutugubwa name. And in fact, even when time for sharing my property comes and I'm writing my will and I'm like, this is my property, and I should actually share my property equally amongst all my children, even with the adopted child. By the way, we are all adopted children of God.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
We are adopted in the family of God. So just like we are proud to say, I am a Christian, I belong to the family of God, in the same way, that is the kind of pride this child should have, knowing that they are adopted and they belong to your family, because then there shouldn't be any difference between an adopted child and a biological child. That is what the law provides.
Okay, so it is a good thing, in other words, to be adopted. People should not feel bad about it.
Yes,
Okay.
and fostering is the prerequisite to adoption.
Yes.
In Uganda, you first foster the child for a period of 12 months. When you foster the child, you get a foster care order from court for 12 months. And after 12 months, then you proceed and get an adoption order. But that is mainly for the children like the ones at Sanyi Baby's home, who don't have any known relatives, and you walk into Sanyi with an intent to adopt, but you first foster the child, because the law also provides long-term fostering, where you can foster the child until they are 18 years. But at Sanyi, we encourage the short-term fostering. We want parents to walk in to foster with an intent to adopt. Why? Because the children at Sanyi don't have any known relative. These children have been abandoned. They were rejected right from birth, discarded on garbage heaps, on the streets, in trenches of water. And when they come to Sanyi Baby's home, this becomes their home. And yet, it's an institution. We believe that children belong in families, and so we don't want them to live at Sanyi forever. That is why when a parent comes in, we want you to foster the child with an intent to adopt. Because just imagine if you have intentions of fostering for only 5 years, 10 years. What happens after 10 years? And you're like, I think I can't foster this child anymore. And yet Sanyi is only a baby's home, caring for babies from birth to 4 years old. But also, even if the child can be moved on into another child care institution, we want to ensure that each child lives in a family. not an institution. Yes.
Interesting. Now, of course, we've seen adoption in movies and foster care in movies and from the far countries, that's like abroad and stuff like that. And one may be wondering, is it really, really possible to legally adopt a child in Uganda, or what are the processes that they have to go through?
Oh, yes, it's very, very possible. And actually, viewers out there, some of you might have been adopted from Sanyi Babies Home, but you don't know.
True.
Because your fathers and mothers came and picked you up when you were babies. But it is very possible. And the first important thing for viewers out there to understand is that adoption is free. Children are not sold, because there are lots of people out there that are always saying, I want to adopt. How much is a child? Isn't it very expensive? Adoption is free. Obviously, there will be expenses along the way that you'll be required to facilitate as the prospective adoptive parent, but adoption is free. Beautiful. And it is very possible for both Ugandans and resident internationals.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
But our priority at Sanyi Babies Home, one, is for us to reunite the child with their living family members if we can find them. If that is not possible, next is to place the child with a Ugandan family, and preferably Christian families. It is such a big shame, because the adoption law in Uganda is very open to everybody. And then, you know, a child that the Archbishop baptized on 1st November and named them Patrick or Moses or Joy, and then 6 months down the road, we are handing them over to a Muslim. It is a shame, but that is the law. So viewers out there, Christians, I'm encouraging you, embrace adoption, come and take these children home. And remember, the children we are talking about are not only living at Sanyi Babies Home. We've talked about over 50,000 children living in 800 children's home. So sometimes you might come to Sanyi Babies Home and there is a waiting list, and that is the fact. So it is possible, and I want to tell you that at the moment we are keeping a waiting list of families interested in adopting at Sanyi Babies Home. And now we want you to be open and accept to also adopt from other homes. We network. We are under Crane. And if I called Patrick, is there any other home that has a boy of 3 years old available for adoption? Patrick will obviously lead me to that home. But, you know, sometimes parents have reasons are like, I will wait, even if it is 2 years, I will wait on the waiting list. And yet there are lots of children out there.
Of course, the trust in Sanyi Babies Home is too much.
But also, as we have the waiting list of families wanting to adopt, we also have some children waiting for families. Some of these children have waited for so many years, and they are at the verge of being transferred to other child care institutions. Why? Because they came in with medical conditions. Some of them have additional needs, special needs. Others are HIV positive. Some have cerebral palsy or sickle cell, meningitis, and all that. And many parents prefer adopting healthy babies or cute and young, you know, little baby boys and girls. And some of these boys and girls have waited for long. Some of them have actually watched over 100 brothers and sisters at Sanyi live, and their turn has never come. And every day they come and ask, Mommy Barbrah, when will I go home? When will my turn come? And you know, they are able children, but just because they are HIV positive, every parent waiting on the family on the waiting list is interested in a healthy child. So that is also another challenge, but it is very possible as long as you are okay following the law. And also we do a criminal background check, because anybody would wonder, don't they give their babies to people that want to sacrifice them and all that? A background check is done. But we also work with the local leaders right from the LC, and we also work with the Police Child and Family Protection Unit. We work with the probation officers who, according to the law in the Children's Act, are mandated to place these children in, first of all, in places like Sanyi Babies Home, but to also get them out of Sanyi and place them in families for fostering and adoption. So adoption is very, very possible, and lots of people have done it. And so you too can do it.
You've given some bits of challenges faced by places like Sanyi Babies Home. But is that all? The challenges exhausted, or are there some other challenges that you'd like to let us know?
Obviously, there are lots of challenges. I only mentioned that in line with fostering and adoption. But Sanyi Babies Home is a charity institution. We are under Church of Uganda, and we rely on support of people like you, because there is no organization, institution that funds us on a regular basis. So we have our budget, but we don't know where the money is going to come from, and yet there are lots of children coming in, because the problem of child abandonment is something that doesn't seem to be ending. You can imagine for the past 94 years, anybody would think that now Sanyi Babies Home is empty. We can only take care of 50 babies at a time. But every other time there are babies coming in, and that keeps us working so hard to ensure that babies exit our care to create space for other children that are in desperate need of medical care and attention. But as we do all that, we struggle, we rely on donations, and at such a time, it is very difficult. Sometimes, somebody has committed themselves to sponsor 5 children, and then all of a sudden, they tell you that I've been laid off my job. I can't sponsor the 5 children anymore. Child sponsorship is only 60,000 shillings per month for one child. And so they pull out because they can't sponsor a child anymore. That means there is no income coming in, and yet there are babies coming in, and they need care and attention. Many of the children come when they are very, very sick. When we talk about the theme for our month for children, ending violence against children, many children these days that arrive in our care come after being physically abused. There is a story of a little girl, she's approximately 3 years old, and when she came in, she came with scars all over her body. She was severely malnourished. Her right hand was fractured, the left hand was fractured, and the left hand side was paralyzed. And so we went, did x-rays and treated the hand and the leg, and once they healed, we started doing the physiotherapy on the left hand side, and along the way she developed very strong seizures. And we went to Mengo Hospital to do a brain CT scan. We went to Mengo Hospital to do a brain CT scan, but at a fee. So money is needed even for medical. So we had to pay for the brain CT scan. We have to pay for the medicines. And when we did the CT scan, the results were very worrying, but the doctor didn't want to make conclusions. So he sent us to Nsambya Hospital to do an MRI test. And that is also costly. One test costs 750,000 shillings. For just one child, and there are lots of other children that need to be taken care of. And the results from the MRI test indicated that the child's brain was badly damaged because somebody tried to strangle, to kill the child, that the artery carrying oxygen to the right hand side of the brain was cut off. And where is this violence happening? In our families, in our communities, in our society, in our neighborhood, and nobody seems to care. So the artery was cut off, and there was no brain going to the right hand side of the there was no oxygen going to the right hand side of the brain, and that explains the stroke on the left hand side of the brain, but also explains the seizures. And that meant that there had to be an intervention done. A surgery had to be done, but you can imagine how costly a brain surgery is. And at the moment, the child has received the brain surgery, but she's not yet there. And a lot of money is needed to keep her well. A lot of money is needed to also treat other children that have conditions like Down syndrome, like hydrocephalus. Some are HIV positive. Yes, we get ARVs from Mengo Hospital at no fee, but it comes along with other needs, taking care of such children to ensure that they live a healthy life. We pay a lot of money for umeme, electricity, water bills, food and so much is needed. And actually, we at Sanyi Babies Home, we are now, we want to go into self-sustainability. And there is this interesting project that we are raising money for, and we trust that viewers out there, you can give us the money because God has provided for you. Because this project is going to help us a great deal. It is an energy efficiency project. Using solar, it will enable us to, it will generate enough energy to give us all the lights that we need in Sanyi Baby's home, but to also give us enough energy to use for all the electrical appliances within Sanyi, enough energy for cooking, enough energy to warm the water so that the children can also enjoy a warm bath. And that means that we will not have to pay Umeme bills anymore. We will not have to buy charcoal and firewood for cooking. But this project will also make our job much easier as we strive to provide Christ-like love to babies and children deprived of parental love, and reintegrate them into community through reuniting them with their families, fostering and adoption. The good news is that we've already got a grant 50% from SNV. They are giving us 176 million shillings.
Great.
But we need to raise 176 million shillings to match the grant so that we have this project in place.
Okay.
And if we had all the money, then that wouldn't be a challenge. But because we rely on people out there, we need the support. We need the support to buy the food for the children, to buy the medicines, to pay the staff salaries, to buy the diapers, to buy baby formula milk and all that. Today, one tin of baby formula milk costs 40,000 shillings.
Yeah.
And to take us through a day, 24 hours for only the babies between 1 day old to 6 months old, we need 6 tins of baby formula milk in just 24 hours. And that is just baby formula for the tiny babies from 1 day to 6 months old. We have lots of other babies, the 1-year-olds, the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, you know. So the challenge is we need the money. We need the support.
Wow.
We need the tangible donations. We need the cash donations. We need the donations in kind. You might be having a lot of food at your farm and you've harvested a lot. Just bring that sack of maize. Just bring that bunch of matoke, or bring that 1 liter of milk that you have, or the 20 liters of milk that you have, or the 50,000 shillings you have, or the 1 million or 20 million. We need it to ensure that we take care of these children and just give them a good life, just like our children get at home.
And maybe, Kari, if you could allow me to also give a little wider perspective on some of the challenges. So one of the things Barbrah did mention that happens within these homes is discrimination from the parents that come, and she did mention the discrimination that happens due to the health of the children, and you're thinking through those that are HIV positive, those that are living with a disability, and people are quick to say, oh no, I'm not taking that one home. And yet as Christians, we need to move beyond discriminating people based on such conditions that in most cases they didn't ask for, or they can't do anything about, but we ought to be able to express love and care for them regardless of their health status. But there's another form of discrimination that happens to these little children, whereby most parents who come are interested in girls and not in boys. So you remember when Barbrah was explaining about adoption, that when you adopt a child, the child becomes yours. They take on your name, they're entitled to an inheritance and things like that, because now they're part of this family. And so people come in and they're like, okay, I don't want a boy. I want only girls. And so you find that the girls are taken, and then the boys remain in the system longer than they are supposed to. And research has shown us that the longer a child remains in an institution, the more it affects their development. And so in this form of discrimination, we are kind of extending the violence and trauma that these children have experienced. We have fears that people come with when they come to take on these children, and some of them are thinking, oh, it's difficult to raise a boy, it's difficult to raise a girl. When you raise a child that is not yours, this is what would happen to you. And yet, raising any child is not easy. But it's about the parent having this commitment and saying, okay, with God as my guide, I'm going to take care of this child. Whatever I face, I'll be able to support this child. There is also the preconceived ideas that a community has towards children that are brought into a family. And in that particular case, you have relatives. So many people who have considered foster care and adoption have actually been hindered by their relatives. Even some that are currently fostering, their families have been like, hey, hold on, we still have so many people in our clan that you could take care of before you bring someone from outside the clan. But what they are forgetting is those within the clan already have a family to belong to.
Yes.
They have the clan that is looking around and saying, oh, Karo is there, who's going to help her go to school? But the ones in homes, like Sanyi Baby's home and the others, don't have that family, don't have, it's Barbrah who, after taking care of her family, is thinking, oh, then what happens to this little one? But they also need someone who can say, you are created in God's image.
Yeah.
You deserve to belong in a family.
You are
so
loved.
Come, you are loved. We will provide for you. And then you give them this identity that they can carry with them. So when you talk about the challenges, so there are challenges that are involved in running the institutions. There are also challenges in the process of fostering and adopting that we do face.
Okay.
And actually, in addition to what Patrick has said, the challenge of identity and a sense of belonging, many children that moved from Sanyi into other childcare institutions, you know, once a child becomes 18, they are not children anymore. And so, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development doesn't expect them to continue living in childcare institutions. And this means that these institutions are supposed to let them go into independent living. But just think about an 18-year-old, 20-year-old girl, 19-year-old. They are still children. I didn't get to leave my parents' house. I actually just left because of work. I had to be at Sanyi Baby's home. It was a full-time job. But if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have left until marriage.
Exactly.
I would still be there. But when they go out there, they are all alone. Before, at least they're like, okay, there's this institution. But now they are not in the institution. They are not at Sanyi Baby's home anymore. They are in the world all by themselves. And many of them always come back to Sanyi Baby's home, and you can see they are struggling. We can't take them back. They are adults now. But they don't have a mother. They don't have a father. And some of them, even though Sanyi does a very good job of trying to trace for the known relatives of these children as soon as they have just come in, some of them come and ask, can't I look at my file again and see if I can also get involved in tracing for my mother, for my father, for my family? You know, a sense of belonging is very, very important.
Wow, very interesting information. Okay, we hope for the best, but let's continue. Patrick, you talked about something off air, biblical persistence or perspective, in children, especially those being raised in families. Can you share something about that?
Yeah, thank you so much. So Crane is also a Christian-based organization, and most of those we are networking with are Christians, and we're driven by the values of the Christian faith. When we study the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, when we talk of the child, we see the child in the family. Each time the Bible talks of a child, there is always the picture of a parent or a responsible adult in there. And so one could conclude that God created all children to belong to families where they are loved, where they're cared for, where they experience their first form of education, because there are things you learn at home before you go out to the community, before you go out to school, and the like. And when we look through the Bible, you also see examples of children being taken care of by, say, relatives, and that's what we refer to as kinship care. But also you have examples of foster care happening within the Bible itself. A few years ago, the theme for Church of Uganda was taken from Exodus 2:10, where they were saying, take care of this child. And you have the example of Moses, because that's Moses' story. Because of the conditions, his parents couldn't take care of him. You would think he's abandoned, but he's not really abandoned, because his sister is watching over him. They're thinking, how do we get him to the appropriate care so that he survives? And Pharaoh's daughter, who's not even God-fearing, sees this child, has mercy on this child, and is thinking, I can't take care of this child. I wish I could find a lady to take care of this child. And Miriam jumps out and says, here, I know someone who can. And so you see Moses is taken care of by his family, although in this case they're supporting Pharaoh's daughter, and then Pharaoh takes on him as his own son. And when you look beyond the example of Moses, you have the example of Esther as well. The Bible clearly tells us that Esther lost her parents, and the one who was taking care of her was Mordecai, who was a relative. And he took care of her like someone that he loves. And so she was not abandoned, but you could see Mordecai took on this fatherly responsibility.
Yeah.
When we move to the New Testament, we find the example of Jesus himself, our Lord and Savior, that when God intended for Jesus to come on earth, he intended for it to be within the context of a family. So Mary is betrothed to Joseph, and the angel, God sends the angel to tell Joseph, don't do away with Mary. We need you, Joseph, to take care of Jesus as his father. So one would, in a way, say Joseph is like the adopted father to Jesus, and then Mary is taking care of him. And so Jesus is also within this community of a family. Then the last that I would share is an example that Barbrah already talked about. When we read passages like Galatians 4:4-7, I think it also comes out in Romans, we find the idea of adoption, whereby we who are Christians, we've been adopted into God's family. And now we can refer to God as Abba, Father. And Paul reminds us that the Spirit enables us to call him Father. And he's a father in a very unique way to us, that he even makes us co-heirs. We who didn't deserve anything. And I know we love these passages so much, that we who are nobody are now somebody. Why? Because out of love, God decides to adopt us. And then he says, you are also going to be co-heirs. I'm going to give you an inheritance of my kingdom. And when we look at the Bible and all these examples that I've talked about of children being raised in the family, we're saying there's something God is telling us. Can we as Christians, and you've had Barbrah's passion for that, can we as Christians be the first to extend a hand of compassion to these children and be able to tell them, I've experienced what it is like to be accepted into a family. I'm part of the family of God, the family of believers. So I want to show you as well. These children will understand the gospel story even more, because it will be so easy to say, you see, the same way we brought you into this family, so God is bringing you into his own family. Even the children defined within that home are going to be excited, because they're like, okay, when we hear of God has adopted us, it's like what we did for this person, and now we don't refer to them as that child we live with, but this is my sister, this is my brother. We're growing up together, and we are loving them. We are giving them an identity as well that they can hold on to. So the Bible really emphasizes and encourages the family care, and it's exemplified for us through biblical characters, but also through what God has done for us in Christ Jesus.
And Carol, just to add on that, the Bible has come out very clearly, just like Patrick has told us. Unfortunately, today, it is not the case. We have very good examples from the Bible, but for a number of cases, actually, the way we even receive children at Sanyi Baby's home is because a 13-year-old girl has been defiled by their uncle, and then they are conceiving out of incest. But because she has gone an extra mile to probably tell their teacher or to report to police, and police is coming into this family to take away the uncle, so the entire family disowns the 13-year-old girl, and they are chasing her out of the house. Where is she going to go? Sometimes she will land onto the streets and then land in the hands of Good Samaritans in courts, and then these Good Samaritans will give her accommodation, but after delivery they will tell her, you must discard that baby and join our business. They are commercial sex workers. And some children, there is a little baby we received, but the baby was born out of incest. Now this time it was brother and sister, 16-year-old and 14-year-old in the same house. And this is happening in our communities, in our houses, Christian families out there. And so the mother and father were very, very furious. And they're like, no, you girl, we know you're very bad-mannered. You're even lying about your brother. This can't be true. Get out of our house. And this girl was found at Kabaka's lake. She was going to throw herself in the lake and die, because she's like, why? don't have any reason to live if my mother and father can't even believe in me and they are chasing me out of the house. And so that is how she was rescued and then taken into a crisis pregnancy center. But throughout the entire journey of pregnancy, she was being counseled and she couldn't get there. She was crying every day and night. Even when she delivered the baby, she refused to breastfeed this baby. And along the way, she tried to strangle the baby. And then she disappeared. So that's how this baby gets into Sanyi baby's home. We receive a little child in coma. And why? Because we have not followed what the Bible, the examples that the Bible is showing us. Who is going to embrace this young teenage girl, 16-year-old, 13-year-old who was conceived out of incest? Or some of them are conceiving because as the parents have not played our role. We have not nurtured them. We've not taught them how to honor God with their bodies as their bodies are changing. And before they know it, they're indulging in irresponsible activities, and then they get pregnant and deliver and abandon and deliver and abandon. Some of these children are born by women we know very well in our neighborhoods. You see this lady is pregnant for 9 months. After 9 months, they don't have the pregnancy anymore and they don't have the baby, and nobody seems to ask. But that wasn't the case during the Bible times.
Yeah.
Very chilling experiences, but as the media, we can only bring these people here to tell the world about it and also find solutions on how to handle it better. Of course, we give kudos to babies' homes like Sanyi and organizations like Crane who have come out to try and mitigate the situation and make sure that, of course, everything gets back to normal. It's a long way, and but we are taking baby steps as a country, but also as a community. My name is Carol. We are going for a short break. We are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Yes, as you've heard it, for comfort and luxury at its best, it is Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe that is sponsoring a beautiful show today. You're welcome back to Issues at Hand with me, Carol Tumwine, and we are still here discussing child adoption and fostering. In studio with me are my guests. One is called Patrick Byekwaso, who is the Children and Families Manager at Crane, as well as Barbrah Mutagubwa, who is the Executive Director at Sanyi Baby's Home. Now we're talking about adoption, and we have got to know that anybody can adopt as long as you want to be a parent and you have what it takes, because of course there are some procedures that you have to meet before you take the child home. But also I would like to let you know about something. What if you adopted this child and then they ended up being the president of Uganda, for example? You see how you be in things. So I think I think adoption is a very, very great choice for you out there that is, willing to have a child or two. Maybe you can think about adoption as an option. My question, however, the first one will be for Miss Barbrah. Are there any rare scenarios that you've had through your experience, dealing with children and parents who come to take out those children? Have you had, the parents that have come to exploit the children, but they hide under adoption?
Yes, many come, and through the conversations we have with them. But by the way, not everybody that comes into Sanyi Baby's Home to ask for adoption is approved. Many of you viewers out there have come and we've said no. And people come with different agendas and missions, and so this couple walks in and says, okay, you see, we are aging and all our children are married. We need a little girl that will be with us at home, a girl that we can send, a girl that can assist us. And you're like, no, you're in a wrong place. This is not a factory for house helps. And then another one comes in and says, you see, we didn't get any child, but now that we are aging, we are worried. We want somebody to be by our side. You see, it's a good thing that they want to consider adoption, but their motive, because we are aging, and any aging parent needs a child to be by their side. So we get such cases, and sometimes people don't even come with bad intentions at the start, or you can't tell, you go through all the verifications, background check, and everything seems to be okay. So a child is placed in their home for fostering. But during the fostering period, we monitor them. The probation officer also supervises and monitors them. And during our post-placement visits, that is where we get to see the true colors of this family that took the child. And the probation officer has the mandate to work with the probation officer to withdraw the child from you, but also know that if in case there is any kind of abuse, you must be answerable.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. And for Mr. Byekwaso, could you shed a light on the Children's Act 2016, but also find a way to bring in the Archbishop's launch of November as a month of children's focus?
So thank you so much. And I want to say much appreciation, personal much appreciation to the Church of Uganda for setting aside November as the focus for Children Month. And I think it's very important that as a society we do that. From the examples Barbrah has shared, you notice that some people do not realize the value children have. They see them as things they can manipulate and exploit in order to get their own way around life. Some of them see them as labor, free labor that they could use, but that's a wrong perspective. And as the Archbishop was launching this month of November as the Child Focus Month, his focus was on a united society against child violence, and thinking through, if we value children, then we are going to work together as a society to fight this violence against them. When we talk of violence against children, it's any form of abuse that could cause harm. It could be physical harm, it could be mental harm, it could be even harm that prevents them from progressing in life. It could be education. And this is the church coming out and saying we need to stand up against this, because children are a promise for our future. 30 years from today, those that are 10 and below are going to be the ones running this country. And if we want to see this country in a better place, then we need to invest in them and take care of them. I'm happy to say that the launch of the Children Focus Month was launched with a walk from the Archbishop's Palace to Sanyi Baby's home. And so you kind of see how that picture fits together. And it is in this same spirit that we have the Children's Act, speaking up not to restrict parents from parenting their children, but to offer guidance. How do we raise children in a violence-free society? But the other thing I would love to highlight from the Children's Act that we are talking about today is the priority care for children. We've seen the biblical perspective that priority is within families, and even within the laws in Uganda, the priority care for children is within the context of a family. And we ought to be working to see that every child who is separated from their biological parents, all efforts are made to reunite them to those parents. And homes like Sanyi Baby's home and the others that we work with as Crane have that as their priority. Take children back to their biological family. Where that is not possible, then find kinship care for them. Get relatives to take them in. Where relatives are not available, that's when now we begin looking at these alternatives of foster care as well as adoption, so that these children are finding homes. And the preference is long-term foster care and adoption, because then there is stability within the child's life. Institutions, according to the law, are transitional places that we bring the child and we are saying, because of some situations, they're not able to be home. Let's support them as we try to get them either back to their family or to another family.
Thank you. Maybe in 1 minute each, let's wrap up the conversation by sharing contacts of people who might need you. Maybe I'll start with Miss Barbrah, and your last words just in a minute.
My telephone number is 0788 162 147. You might be out there and you're interested in getting further information about adoption or how you can get involved in Sanyi Baby's home, be it volunteering, offering your services, or giving a donation, or praying for the children, or there are lots of things lots of ways you can partner with Sanyi Baby's home. I'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Byekwaso.
Yeah, thank you. You could reach Crane Network at 0206 300 400. 0206 300 400. You'll be able to call us at Crane Network. Someone will pick up the phone and they'll be able to respond to your questions. You could also find us on different social media platforms where we could respond to you: Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and you're able to get some more information. My last words would be, we need to prevent violence against children, and so we all need to stand up. We need to prevent children being separated from their families, and violence contributes to that. So when we fight violence, we're supporting children to grow up in families. And where possible, let's find a family for a child and not an institution. Crane can help you along that journey, so feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick Byekwaso. Thank you so much, Ms. Barbrah Mutagubwa, for your time here and the insightful discussion that we have had. We hope that next time when we call you, you will be, of course, willing to come back and share more information. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for watching Issues at Hand this morning. It is a new week, therefore we have just started. We will be back tomorrow. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms. That's at Church of Uganda Family TV, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, but also on YouTube, where we post these subsequent videos and you can go and watch at your convenience, share with friends and family. For now, it is a good morning from I and the production crew. Stay blessed.
Issues at Hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe.